Welcome.
Hey, what's going on?
Hey, how's it going?
I missed you all so much. It's been a while.
Yeah,
Definitely has. Too long.
it's been way too long.
Oh no, I can hear myself.
You can cancel echo with your mute in audio.
Stereo audio?
Echo cancellation.
I just turned it off.
Cool. Can you still hear yourself?
Yeah. Bit of an echo now.
I can.
Oh man,
I think it's computer audio.
the thing about live is that it's so much more work for not enough to justify it.
Right.
You know, this is like across all video content. Anytime live, it's just like so much more moving parts.
I think it's the screen sharing.
And I know we're live, right? So this is being recorded.
And two people watching.
Okay, Yay,
what
had two people. I look pretty orange right now, but I think that's just part of this. I don't know. I'm bringing it.
Could be worse.
People are going to watch me go insane.
But man, I've been looking through a lot of these projects on the comp. You know, I'm loving these kind of things, by the way, like these like hackathon things. Because, dude, there were so many projects.
Tons,
thousands. And a couple, you know, and it doesn't seem, you know, when I'm looking through all these projects, some are a little bit more thorough and ironed out.
Oh my God, I'm an idiot.
What? What happened?
I figured out why I was listening everything on loop.
Were you listening to the stream?
I had the stream open on a different.
Nice. There you go.
Okay, that was embarrassing. So we're back. Hope you enjoy that, ladies and gentlemen. On the upside, one of the other people watching was me, so I guess we'll be recording to posterity.
You know, I think this is a great practice run for future live stuff. Let's just
yeah. So this is going to be live, so it may be less polished than the amazingly edited Ready Layer One or Wild User Interviews podcast. But the reason why we wanted to do it live was precisely so that it's raw, it's out there, timing is of the essence. MetaBuidl started and happened technically, I don't know, months ago, and it was after Lisbon. Even the judging took a little bit of time. So now that the winners have officially been announced, we basically wanted to get together and have a good time browsing through, sharing our unfiltered perception or views. The good way to see it is we want to give all these teams more visibility. We expect them to continue building on Near, and the more people that know about them, the better. I don't think this is a bad way of looking at it.
Yeah.
What do you guys think?
No, it's exciting, yeah.
Yeah, and I have a question for you. So these projects, I was looking through them. So it's just like kind of concepts with like loose builds, right? At varying degrees. Like these aren't already funded projects. These are like hackathon. They did some stuff over 6 to 8 weeks, and like proof of concepts potentially going forward.
That's an excellent question, which is probably where we should start. So MetaBuidl 3, it was an 8-week hackathon, and it had some pretty chunky prizes. You know, it was all the way up to, I think it was like $1 million in different categories. And there were additional bounties. They got all the big dogs to judge. You know, everyone that is knowledgeable in their respective fields was involved. And the criteria of what to submit was, where is the criteria? Yeah, so the criteria was super open-ended. It was basically native, you know, brand new projects, open projects built completely during the submission period, 8 weeks, and then Web 2 to Web 3. The interesting thing is that the 8-week approach was sort of there to deliberately invite people to work not just on like a hobby idea, something that you may do over a weekend hackathon. Mm-hmm. They really wanted to encourage people to work on ideas that want to work on long term. And the 8-week period had a bunch of like mentorship sessions and just resources to basically increase the chances of success. There were 3,114 participants, so I'm sure that they can correct me as to what the actual participant experience was.
Yeah.
But yeah.
That's awesome. Well, it's awesome so many people, submit something.
Too many submissions. So we'll be sharing the link. Maybe just put in the chat now or the comments somewhere. So there's a project gallery section where you can actually see all the submissions. They are live. The winners will show up first, and there are 262 pages of submissions. So that's a lot of projects. So maybe what we'll do is let's just start with the winners to give them some visibility. Jared, is there anything that has jumped at you?
So I just started kind of going in order with them. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know if there was one specifically that I was like, oh, this is a winner. There were a couple things that I've got like we could all talk about and follow up on. Like, there was that one that's like the coin one. Which one was that?
It's a very, very specific description.
Yeah, the coin one.
The open ATM one. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, open ATM.
Oh yeah. Okay, I'll scroll through and get that one.
And I'm not saying that like this is one I think is the best or anything. I was just like, wait, there's an ATM, like anything that has physical.
Ooh, look at that sexy box.
Yeah, and I was trying to figure out like exactly how this would work. Like that's my thought. Like, is this going to scale?
Can you hear the audio?
No.
Okay,
However, can I say something about submissions? I could tell when people use like AI audios. You know what I mean? It'd be like, "Hi," and I don't know how I feel about that. They'd be like, "Hello."
You are a wizard because this definitely sounds like an AI.
Does it? Some are like, "Oh, we have got open ATM," which makes me think like, I don't know.
Actually, I'm not sure if it's open AI. I think it might just be an accent from English as a second language.
That's too. That's what I mean. Some are definitely that as well, like that. And there's nothing. That's great. Like that's what I love about cryptos. It's international and global.
So what is Open ATM? A free and open source do-it-yourself ATM. See, when I was a child and growing up, and I'm not gonna lie, to this day, I always wanted to learn how to pull apart ATMs to like take all the money. I never quite dreamed of building one, but this has caught my interest. Maybe I can find myself in the new year.
Yeah. And so what I did, so for people listening, what I did is I would take the entire description, copy and paste it into Chat GPT and say, summarize this in 5 bullet points. And because this is what I've become, just a person with open AI open all the time.
Right.
But should I read the 5 bullet points so we can see how it sounds?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So here's the 5.
We can judge the participants and ChatGPT at the same time.
Exactly. So it's Open ATM is a do-it-yourself physical ATM that allows users to exchange fiat coins for near cryptocurrency. The ATM connects to the CoinMarketCap API to get real-time exchange rates and allows users to send near to their own wallet or to a charity. The ATM is built using a coin acceptor with a USB wafer, a window, or Linux tech. Like Joe, this might be more your like Linux, and a custom 3D printed box to hold the components. To use the ATM, insert coins, choose the near recipient, scan their QR code, and confirm the transactions. And then lastly, the code for Open ATM is open source and available to anyone to contribute or to improve upon.
Dude, this is amazing. I'm not gonna lie, it's almost as cool as robbing an ATM. So the reason why I really like it is because when I was at uni, I had a sort of similar idea. When you're young and idealistic, I had this idea for something called like silver bullet. In Australia, the coins are like gold or silver, and the idea was to basically distribute boxes, simple boxes, plain boxes, cardboard boxes, to like offices and whatever places, and for people to basically just give away the coins. So I love that this is like a high-tech Web3 hybrid where it's a similar concept. Like there's a ton of coins, even on this table, I've got a bunch of pesos in coins that I have no idea how much it's worth because carrying the coins is really annoying. So I love that this could be a really easy way to reach the masses because everyone has coins, and then introduce them to Web3 in a really easy, I guess, flow that they're familiar with, like donating the coins. You bring in the charity aspect. Like there's a lot of hooks there that I can see this having adoption. And what I'm thinking is, even if you were to do it like whatever USDC, just the fact that it's happening on the Near blockchain says a lot about microtransactions.
Sure.
Joe, maybe you can jump in here, assuming, because we haven't really looked at the chain, even some of the new events like meta transactions or the single access key like key palm. Like, how could these things be put together in a really cool way to make this amazing?
It's really interesting because it sounds like that. I mean, you essentially kind of almost become your own bank to some degree by doing this. Like, you would set one of these up, right, and then like people would be able to go in and do this. And so you are acting like the bank there. So for what's great about doing this on Near is that one is to do small transactions. If I have just 50 cents, it's not a big deal, right? So for someone to put in 50 cents and get that equivalency in Near sent to me, that costs nothing on either side, really, pretty much. With meta transactions coming in, that's again a great opportunity here, because you, as the ATM owner type of thing, you want to be able to not require any other interfacing by the other user, right? I should be able to put my coins in and just send it to whatever wallet I want to send it to. And so that's really a pretty cool feature that you could leverage. And now you kind of have your own, if Near, if the rate of Near is changing, whatever else, maybe it becomes an arbitrage of some sort as the ATM owner. But if nothing else, again, it's an easy onboarding way for people to take that spare change and get going.
Totally. And I don't know how long we want to spend on each project, right? Because there's a lot of projects. So if we want to like get a timer and be like,
give me a sign. It's like,
yeah, because here's what I'm thinking. So this is a cool idea, but you bring up something really, really, I think is like, I saw in a couple of the projects, which is microtransactions. And I think this is like a super interesting, like long-term could become business models. Like what are business models in Web3 look like? And there was one here, like Recur was a project. It's recurring payment management tool for micropayments to sort of like maybe SaaS models and stuff like that. I thought that was a really interesting.
Amazing. So what we can do is let's wrap this one up and maybe open the micropayments as a thread.
Cool.
And go through those. The last thing I want to mention with this one is that I think it's hilarious that I started by saying that I dream of robbing banks. And the one thing that it's not mentioned in the Open ATM is the actual logistic of having a box that is accruing money, like in a physical way. Yeah. So I can see people putting coins in, getting the equivalent in USDC sent to their new wallet. That part is very beautiful and romantic. I'm going to have dreams, like good dreams about that. But then I can also see somebody smashing the shit out of this box and taking a few coins.
Yeah. Can they just connect it to Coinstar that already exists in like every single location, just like program it to where you can get Near as a payment?
We can workshop that bit. But yes, I'm going to find the Recur one. And Jared, if you want to start reading the description from our AI underlings.
Yeah, it's a reoccurring payment management tool that enables subscription services in Web3. So that already is like interesting, right? I like that. Especially if like the UX UI, like, breaking that, code. It uses, so it says lazy evaluation to minimize the number of on-chain transactions and optimize gas costs. Allowing for the creation of highly frequent payment plans at a low cost. Joe, you might be able to add to lazy evaluation. I don't know. It records subscriptions on chain and allows for customability in billing period and price. It automatically manages recurring payments and allows subscribers to cancel or top up their subscriptions. It has been integrated into a simple Web3 community website and currently supports Near token payments. So it's interesting.
Interesting. I'm just going to have the video play sort of in the background. It's got no audio. This seems to be a demo talking a lot. But I like it as somebody that would like to be paid. I think it's interesting because Jared and I come at it from like random on the street approach.
Yep.
Joe has like a lot of technical depth. So from an everyday user, I think that it'd be really cool to have subscriptions. I don't know, could we have subscriptions for like Wild User Interviews podcast or Relay One podcast? That'd be dope. I know that these are some concepts that maybe Rocketo or even Keep'em had explored. So Joe, what comes to mind when you think about this one from like a technical standpoint?
So, I mean, this is, I think, a challenge that is wide open for anyone to really try to better solve. Right? Like, I think there is, Rocketo has a solution for this. And it's one where I think they're just, that transition when you talk about people being comfortable from how they are now, whether Web 2 type of payments to moving to Web 3, there's challenges with the blockchain, right? Like there's not, like how do you make sure that the right amount of money is available? So you got to almost like lock money in escrow and all of those different components. And so those that are able to kind of figure out how to best manage that piece of it, of like, where does that money come from? How much do I have to lock up? How do I then receive that? Those are the type of things are really pretty interesting. Where I also like here is that they're trying to say is that, even though it looks like, okay, we're going to do micro subscription payments. So we can maybe do it even in minutes, which is really kind of clever and cool, or the normal like weekly, monthly, whatever else. So now that's where crypto becomes interesting. Because if you want to actually just pay for, let's say, the time it takes me to read an article, right? So maybe I pay whatever per minute. I can actually do that in crypto where I can't do that with my credit card. I can't do that with it because the charge is too much. There's too many middlemen, everything else. So I think this is really clever that people are trying to actually explore that space.
Yeah. I like the idea. Like, I don't know about you, AVB too, but I'm thinking like Web3 is going to, in my view, for like Ready Layer 1 and stuff, is going to turn into lots of different areas for like, let's call it revenue streams, right? Like it's not, because it's decentralized. Like in a centralized world, your revenue comes from a centralized location, but in decentralized, it can come from so many. And I like the idea of like reoccurring. It's what's one near a year. Maybe someone like 1 near a year to be part of the Ready Layer 1 podcast. That's not a lot of near, but you start building a bigger audience. Suddenly it turns into something that's a bit more, it's like, it's about the masses. So say there's 10,000 people following you, that's 10,000 near a year. That's great. And it's only 1 near per person. Not saying that's going to happen, but I like that idea.
Yeah, no, I love that nobody warned me that I'm still sharing screen, even though it may have seemed like I ventured off. I didn't. I actually was trying to find the
I
government
thought you were
post.
purposely doing that.
Of course I did. Of course. So this was an idea that I posted on the forum because I can feel the pain point right now. And I basically encourage someone to work in the solution, even though it takes a different form. I think that micropayments are probably like the one area that it's not served in the West, because the only barrier here would be the cost of the transaction and it just not being serviced by people. Mm-hmm. But when you start expanding to other regions, you may actually find that this could work for all types of payments. I'll give you an example. I'm still in Colombia after DevCon, and I've paid rent twice for this Airbnb. They charge you 4.9% if you pay with a credit card. And I can't open a Colombian bank account because I don't have a visa. Like, there's just so much friction everywhere, and it's really expensive, both for the user and I'm assuming for the local provider.
Sure.
So it'd be really cool to, this almost looks like a no-code website, and it'd be really cool to, as Joe says, crack something like, maybe with a near account model, what you can do is you have a wallet, which is literally like a spending wallet, and I put the funds in, and that's where they get debited each month. And then, you can obviously customize the relationship with each provider. If the funds on the wallet run out, the services also stop being provided. As Joe said, this is definitely open for someone to crack, and it's good to see that there's a team working on it, mm-hmm. and that it's been giving importance, as a winner of the MetaBuidl.
Yeah.
I think I'm less bullish or interested in charging in something by the minute, mostly because I've got PTSD from working as a lawyer and charging in 6-minute units. That was bullshit, but
yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I just think, just as an overall, like Web3, like for people to like business models to create, I mean, I'm thinking like a dozen different revenue streams to eventually support a project. And it's like, that's possible. I think it's starting to be. I'm starting to see more avenues for that, which I think is important because there's so many of these projects that are just not bringing in any revenue. And it's
right.
Well, interesting enough, the same team also created Rentverse, an NFT rental service. It won the NearCon in real life hackathon. That's cool.
okay. So these people are doing something.
See, but this is the exact reaction that prompted me to call you guys and have this live stream. How come these guys won the hackathon at NearCon? Had you heard about Rentverse before? Maybe I'm not as active in the NFT space.
No, I hadn't heard of it. No.
Yeah, so it's been weeks. The code is open source. They won the bloody hackathon. Why are these projects not getting more visibility?
Yeah.
Man, we're doing God's work here, You should send us 1 year per minute.
Yeah.
Well, there's visibility. Yeah, there's visibility, but I think there's like something that we're in like a time right now where it's like, okay, Rentverse, whatever that was. How do I use it? How do I incorporate that in my project? What's the benefit to me? How does that create something to where I can benefit from? So I think those sort of like models are just starting to be thought about. It's going to take some time.
Yeah,
for sure. One of the requirements for at least winning, if not entering the hackathon, is for the code to be open source or there's some sort of like licensing. So, I mean, I don't want to speak on the Pagoda's behalf, but I think that's a lot of the reasoning behind these hackathons and having big prize money. Ideally, we should start getting a lot of composability. People taking some pieces of code from the last 2 hackathons or being inspired by something, getting in touch with teams and collaborating, accelerating the pace of innovation. Pooh! We also need to accelerate the pace that we're going through this.
All right, accelerate the pace. So if you want to keep going, micropayments, that OnlyFunds one is pretty interesting about crowdfunding. And it was like crowdfunding was interesting, as usual. And if you want to do like the high level from our suite, it's a platform for crowdfunding, pledges stored in smart contracts with funds released over time through a DAO voting system. So that is the main thing. We don't have to read all 5 of these. I think that is a super interesting idea, especially because Near and Astro DAOs are like, if you're into DAOs, Astro DAO is probably one of the leading DAOs on any chain, like sort of that platform. So
yeah.
Interesting. So technically, the DAO solution is already there. Like Astro is pretty strong, and they're doing some really cool things about bounties.
Yeah,
I'm guessing that they're solving the first half of the equation of actually having an infrastructure to enable you to bring your backers and for them to be able to transact frictionless on the blockchain.
Yeah, that's what it seems like to me. I also think it's trying to give more power to those people who are the backers in the moment to be able to know like, oh, okay, I've put my money up and then I'm going to have to vote later down the road, where I think it's an interesting kind of just flip on the model of what normal DAOs are now, where I go and make a request and then everybody votes on it. The challenge though is always going to be right now with DAOs is like, will people show up to vote?
Yeah.
Right. Like if I'm waiting for my funds to be released from a crowd fund and I need a certain percentage of people to now vote for the next milestone, how are you getting them to show up?
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Excellent point. Yeah, I mean, that's why I always start by asking, like, what problem is trying to solve? Is it the transactions? Like, for instance, say you want to send funds to somebody crowdfunding now in Russia or Brazil, which for strange reason, there are some restrictions with hackathon participants in Brazil. Or, conversely, you want to withdraw funds or it's too expensive. So the microtransaction side of it, I can see, and the permissionless aspect of it. What's interesting is that this is actually merging the funding side with the governance side. I do wonder whether the pain points on the governance side are as acute. I know that DAOs in general, we do have problems with them getting stuck. We're actually having some conversations in the DAO builder group about having some sort of like dynamic quorum. So if 70% of the DAO is inactive, the quorum to pass proposals actually decreases. so that the remaining 30% can still do things. So there's other things that are being worked on out of necessity. And to be honest, the DAO becoming inactive is probably the best of the bad outcomes, because this could become a Lord of the Flies scenario really quickly, whereby
sure.
the person who raised the funds now has 150 insane people that have the keys to the kingdom, and it may have more challenges than benefits. But I love the experimentation, and I'd like to see where this goes.
Yeah, this is. Oh, sorry, Joe. I didn't. Were you gonna say something?
No.
I was saying, like, I think that 3,000 projects experimenting on Near is like the most valuable thing, right? Like, because now that's like what this is all about. Like, you're building a whole infrastructure. So throwing, like, just having people put energy and time into trying to figure out things is huge and cool to
For
see.
sure.
Yeah. So if we want to keep, I can try to kind of keep us on track if you want.
Yeah.
Please, yes.
keep moving.
And
So okay,
if you
I
see
only want to
anything
talk
on the
about
screen that you like, all the links are on, we'll post them somewhere on the YouTube, and you can definitely go deep diving on your own time. The last thing I want to say with this is 101 fantastic branding. There's an instant affiliation and association with OnlyFans, which I do not engage with, and I do not have an account for now, but
Sure.
everyone is familiar with, and this is a name of the thousands of MetaBuidl entries. This one will stick in our mind. I already forgot about the ATM one, but this is going to be staying.
Only funds. And I hope some of these projects move on to build, and we get to actually interview them, and they keep going.
They'll be on the pod for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Next one, and I'm only talking about this one because it's got a cute little bird, is Near Smart Events. The reason I'm bringing this one up is because you talked about Pagoda, and this one really focuses on Pagoda. So let me drop down the. So Near Smart Events is a tool that allows users to create flows using visual scripting to create complex logic and set up notifications based on interactions with Near accounting and contracts. So Joe, this is like something I feel like devs and you would use because it's in Pagoda, and that's what their kind of pitch is, right? Like,
yeah, it looks like it's building upon. Like, there's a few projects that are like notification related and alert like based. There's also the Near notification protocol, which is a very dry name for something. But I mean, this is Near Smart Events. So, look, I think this stuff is incredibly important in Web3. As somebody who actually has put together their own notification systems, both in Web2 and now for our own internal use in Web3, I think this is really what's needed to simplify these processes, because the blockchain is a mystery, even if you understand it well. For anyone, even someone who is comfortable technically, to have to constantly go to an explorer, look up stuff, try to find different things. Why did this happen? What is that? What's going to happen next? Is so important, especially if you're going to get into micropayments, you're going to get into subscriptions. I need to be notified, so the better that you can solve that. And I love the fact that we're going to put in the Pagoda platform. That's really cool because people who are already building there can then leverage it. I think the other one is more of like an SDK. So I think these are really important infrastructure that needs to be built out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm a very visual person, so I'm really enjoying seeing the way it is laid out, even if it's a bit blurry, and I feel like I'm going to vomit just by looking at it.
Yeah.
But what brings to mind is I recall one of the town halls that the foundation held, would have been several months now. They were talking about the vision for Pagoda, and they were saying, like, look, if you want to start a startup today, and you're like an ambitious founder, etc., you go to AWS and you work to YC Combinator. Like, there are so many pieces of the stack missing, and they gave some examples. Like, hey, there's an email provider, there's MailChimp, and there's Stripe, and there's this and there's that. Like, it's never been easier to start a business. It's never been harder to succeed. But when you look at Web3, we're basically missing the entire stack. So I like that Pagoda has a very clear vision of what is needed for founders and builders to succeed, and they've been chugging along at it. So to me, it's a big win to have hackathon participants like contributing towards that stack. To be honest, I have no fucking idea what the code is actually doing or in which use case it would work, but I feel like this is also aligned with something like the developer governance, the developer working group. And I spoke with these with Pagoda people in Lisbon. They're looking for ways to basically say, hey, this is what we're working on, this is what we're thinking about, this is where we want to go, and really decentralized in a proper sense. You know, the contributors, anyone in the world that have the skills or the interest to get involved can come forward. So yeah, this seems like it's going to be a very powerful tool that hopefully, once again, increases the speed of development and adoption of the Near ecosystem. And if Joe understands what it does, I'm happy with it.
Exactly. And this is one of those things, like, here's where I think Near is really doing a lot of stuff that doesn't always make it to crypto Twitter. Like, people aren't like, oh, did you hear there's the if then that thing on Pagoda? But these kind of things are like massively important in building an ecosystem, and there seems to be like a lot of it.
I mean, visual scripting works by dragging and dropping blocks that describe the application in terms that make sense for humans, so even non-technical people can develop complex logic. You know, I'm even inspired to dive deeper into the documentation on the app, and I know some basic Python. I'd love to be able to like patch things together in Near, and this may get me one step closer.
Yeah, I think, and also too, like you said, even if you don't know how to make a full product, to be able to start tinkering and to get to maybe an idea, an MVP, to start to, have that seeds of, what can maybe come out of this is so important. Like, again, those tools are not here really yet on Web3. And so the more we can get to that kind of atmosphere, the better.
And this is going to just take like time, right, Joe? Like basically it almost feels like right now Web3 has people with the mindset of Web2 without the infrastructure of Web2. Some people are like, we got the idea, and it's like, whoa, we don't have the tools to make that, or I don't know. So,
Joe, I know that I'm putting you on the spot, but do you think that there's anything about the Near core stack and design that enables these in ways that perhaps would not be possible or harder on other ecosystems?
Well, yeah, I this is something. So, I mean, in our own projects, Ready Layer 1, like we kind of leveraged similar things here. That the fact that indexing and grabbing data from indexers is so easy and so efficient on Near. Whether so in this scenario, it looks like they already have a separate indexer already set up. But again, like to be able to, even if you had to put your own in there, it's pretty easy for someone who's just, even slightly technical to be able to actually get an indexer up and running. That's a huge barrier on every other chain, where if I have to set up a full node, like I have to pay $500, $600, $700 a month to run my node, just to get data off the chain. Like that is a huge barrier for people, where on Near, you don't need to do that. It's all available to you. So these type of things really make it interesting. Now, on top of all of that is, I think you'll always hear from me, is the account model on Near is second to none. And that opens up so many doors, because now if I need to be able to do other things around my users, whether it's some kind of notification or whatever else, those seeds are there. We haven't figured out everything out you can do with it yet, but those seeds are there. If you want to explore, if you need to put a special contract in for somebody or on top of their account, you can do that on Near, where you can't do that on other chains.
I'm not sure what making your Pagoda even taller means. I think that's sexual innuendo, but I agree with you. And the really interesting thing is that just earlier today is I was in a data structure working group. There were 2 people from Pagoda, and there was someone, I don't know where they were from, and basically everything they said went over my head. But once again, I'll share the links to the Near Hacks working groups that basically splintered off into developers, wallets, DeFi, DAO, data structures. Technically, the content creators group that we've recently joined, it's adjacent to it. It's not developers, but it's amazing to just see people coming together. And if you think that what we have now is amazing, it's getting better. Like there's some pretty big brains working on it. In fact, the theme for the day today has been, how can we get more engineers involved? Like how many engineers that are currently building a Near do you think know that Near smart events exist?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Probably not many. And how many do you think could benefit from it?
Oh, sure. I mean, most. That's the thing. I think most people don't even understand like what you get from like using Pagoda's platform, right? I think everyone is so conditioned still from a blockchain perspective of like, I have to build everything myself. I have to code everything from scratch. I have to be so, deep into the, blockchain ecosystem just to get something done. Well, that's not the case on Near at all. And so I think getting that messaging out through these different things is going to be really important.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, please go ahead.
oh, no. I'm just keeping us a little time, like move on to the next project. But you finish your thing up, AVP, and then I've got the next one. A good idea.
No, my podcasts are too long. I need someone to keep me on track.
Yeah,
I was just going to say that I've always said that, crypto has this like engineering Olympics aspect. Like people just enjoy working on hard problems or like honestly reinventing the wheel. And that's why I think that the Near strategic approach for 2023, I don't know, I'm really vibing to it. It really resonates. I like that shift from going from like core infrastructure and trying to build a protocol, can this shit scale, to now getting closer to everyday builders. What can you build? Yep. If costs and scaling are not a problem, what can you put out there? And then obviously, finally, the end user, can they actually use the product and onboard 1 billion people? So yeah, next one.
I agree. I think that's the best approach. So now I'm going to try to do a segue. So yeah, you're talking about bringing in more people and hiring more people. Well, this project Seed.
Seamless. Love it.
Seamless, right? This is what we do. Just cheesy transit. No. So I've got two things to bring up with this. So Seed, I think that's what it's called, right? Like, yeah, Seed, Web3 Career Hub. So it's like you bring your resume with you or something like that, right? So that's cool. I think the Seed aims to hiring more efficient through the use of on-chain profiles. The addresses 3 key problems in the recruitment industry: cost of resume, cost of network limitation, and cost of trust. So, okay. So here's what I think is interesting. So that's an interesting idea. So you also have projects like Be Experience that are kind of doing like a job board. So now, is there a person, like I always say that there needs to be like a rogue person on Near, like a head of connections that just gets these people together to like make the best projects? Or is it like they're just competing? I don't know.
Jared, we have already established that you are the head of connections. And like most people doing valuable work in the ecosystem, you don't get paid for it.
That's fine. I just want connections to be made.
No, I think it's a great point, though. These are the things to me that, like, so the Web3 to me, what's different about it is that these connections should happen. Because yes, you want competition is good. It brings everybody up. It forces people to work a little bit harder. But at the same time, I think the collaboration piece is what really starts to separate why you want to move to Web3. And so to at least get them in touch, maybe they don't actually build something together, but just to have those discussions, to recognize like we're here together, maybe there is some kind of thing, though that is super important.
Yeah, because in Web 2, their acquisitions happen all the time. But now that you're not acquisitions, there could be a totally different Web 3 model if we want to think like, now that we've got micro transactions and we've got subscription revenues, who knows? Maybe Be Experience would meet with Seed and be like, oh, hey, we could just actually set up a thing with a subscription revenue, and we'll just use your file, your product within our product, and just give you revenue, and it's all smart contract. So There's no like, just kind of happens, and it could be micro payments or micro shares.
Yeah, and I think that collaboration, even just like having a working group, like sharing what you're doing, can be really good. Like the assumption is that all developers and all teams have the exact same knowledge and they just decide on which direction to go and build it. But that's really not what happens. Like there is so much nuance and things to pick up. Like for a while now, since the beginning of the year, I've been doing a lot of integrations for MetaBuidl. So I deal a lot with the partners. Every single partner asks the exact same questions. I mean, to the extent that I'm not a dev and now I can troubleshoot half the things. Like overnight, it was the decimals on Aurora. NEPs 141s, when you bridge them over to Aurora, they have 24 decimals, when ERC20s only have 18. And each team comes up with a workaround, and I do feel like more collaboration is needed, at least to get that technical throughput as a business model, I think that competition is good. I mean, hiring is so broken that I don't even want to talk about it. Like my experiences have been so bad. Like I haven't had a single job in my life that I applied for it and the process was, conducted to the end and I was successful. It's all been through connections and not like kleptocracy. It's more like you put your work out there and then you hustle to find it. Because I mean, we could talk about this for ages. Like the entire stack is broken. So if technology is a solution and this team is driven, kudos to them. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, and maybe now that I'm gonna be head of connections for free, I don't care. Like then it's like, Joe, why don't we get Ready Layer 1? We get B experience, we get seed, we get them in a room or on a pod.
Get some boxing gloves.
And we just start talking. And it's like, what's up? Like, how does this work? Maybe it doesn't work. Maybe it's like, hey, great project, let's have fun doing. But like, I don't know. There just seems to be a lot of these things. And this is another segue about there was 2 chat things happening, right? So there's a couple chat projects as well happening on this thing, right? So, if 10 chat projects are being made, a chat project's essential, but I don't think 10 is essential, right? Like,
right.
I mean, I guess the question is, how many win the hackathon? 2 chat projects won the hackathon. We can look into them in a bit, but it seems like the implementation is somewhat similar. However, I do think look, this team is from Singapore and they have local engagement there. If the other team is all around the world in the UK or the US, once again, I do like to see local solutions for local people, even if the technical implementation is the same. The everyday operations would definitely be different people because it may just be a different target market. So once again, get the engineers talking, get both products to be to the absolute best quality that it can be, and then let them run in parallel. As long as they're not actually cannibalizing each other, say they're in the same city or whatever, but the more the merrier, I'd say.
Agree. It's just pretty interesting to try to think of how Web3 can be different. And I mean, and that maybe just because it's early, maybe in 10 years from now, it'll be just like Web 2, where it's like conglomerates that build moats and, go after each other's customers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. We're just going to have fun while we can.
Then we'll be on Web 4.
You have a segue for the next one?
Oh, I was going to say, the segue was about the multiple projects doing similar things and talking. We could talk about the 2 chat ones that we're doing pretty good. So the first one is it's Chat Me.
Yep.
And I think, I've been seeing that one around. And then there's also the Yin Box.
And Ghosty.
Oh, 3.
Oh, yeah, Ghosty. Ghosty's a great name.
Okay, so what I'll do is I'm going to have to...
So then it's like, what is the difference?
Do we want to go one by one?
Yeah. Because I think for me, the chat thing is just going to be who cracks the UX UI of it, right? Makes it because I feel like there's a lot of chatting things in Web 2 that work really well. So being able to.
What's the other one called? I've got Chat Me. Oh, Yinbox.
Yinbox. Yeah. And then Ghosty.
Okay, so maybe let's do a rapid fire round on the 3 of them. And then we're going to discuss messaging as a category. Or should we do it all the way around? We discuss messaging as a category first and then look what each one of them is doing.
Nah, each one the first way. Bam, bam, bam.
Okay, cool. So I'll play the video and you can read ChatGPT.
ChatMe is decentralized chat messaging system, blockchain security, and fast, cheap transactions. It allows users to send direct messages, create and manage public and private groups and broadcast channels. It integrates with near social profiles. Interesting. Controls spam and malicious messages. I'd love to know how that is done. 3 different type of user accounts. Man, ChatGPT really does summarize. It's through a widget and documentation, and then it was built using NearApp, React, and the Graph Indexer, and has unit tests and deployment on near testnet.
That's a pretty good summary. Yeah, we really do have to get some money before ChatGPT just replaces all together.
Dude, it's gonna be, yes.
That's why I say some irrational things that don't make sense every once in a while, just to remind people I cannot or will not be replaced soon-ish by ChatGPT. ChatGPT makes sense. You want some crazy shit? There's still humans out there. Awesome. So the only thing I'll note is that visibility matters. I saw a workshop by the Banyan Collective interviewing part of the ChatMe team, and that's when I immediately jumped on board. I paid premium 14 near. I set up a group chat, and I've been trying to onboard people. I did lose some steam because thanks so much, Joe, for pointing this out. This could have gotten very inappropriate and very weird. I paid the 14 year for encryption because to me, messaging without encryption, it's a piece of shit and no one should touch it.
Right.
And it turns out that the encryption is only on like one-to-one messages. I actually did a test and it sends you a request to activate the encryption. I'm guessing that that's just the way that the technical architecture works at the moment. So I would like to see group chats that are themselves encrypted. I don't know if the technology makes it possible or whether it will take us there. The one thing that we should point out is that they're using the near JavaScript encryption.
The
that
encryption
one?
box. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was pretty excited when they shared that one on. Yeah, here we go. Near JavaScript encryption box.
Cool.
And I think that the other teams are also leveraging it. So once again, as we set the preamble for moving on to the next chat messages, I don't think it'd be fair to criticize a lot of people for doing the same thing, in the sense that if the foundation puts out a toolkit such as the JavaScript encryption box, maybe you do want to have 50 people just playing around with it. Just
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Ghosty, you got the Chat GPT?
I do. Ghosty is a real-time messaging app that allows communication between near wallet addresses. It uses socket.io for real-time communication and has a user-friendly interface. I like that. Okay, the app utilizes near wallet for login authentication and stores user data in a MongoDB database. So Joe, I got questions. Does that mean is it basically like, wait, where'd ABB go?
Disappeared. It's gone.
Oh,
Oh.
Okay. But Joe,
I'm still here. I just gotta go get some water.
Yeah.
And then Ghostly aims through communication between your network. Okay. And the app was built using React, Next, JavaScript, Near API, JavaScript, Socket, Express, MongoDB. So that's it. Question for you, Joe. If something is stored on a database, does that mean it's not encrypted, right?
No, it can still be encrypted. It just means that it's now centrally stored somewhere, right? So it's not blockchain where it's decentralized in any form. It just means that it's a single database. So, but it can certainly still be encrypted.
Okay. Is ChatMe all decentralized and on the blockchain?
That's a good question. If it all is, maybe.
So
well,
I think
not technically, I guess.
From the 1 hour workshop that I saw about ChatMe, which I was multitasking, there's maybe a point of differentiation. So the Banyan, shout out to Chut. Oh, dude, you gotta get some apple cider vinegar.
Man, Joe, how are you doing, man? Sorry, Joe's been battling for a couple weeks now.
Yeah, I'm good though.
Yeah, they were talking about the storing of the data, and I think that ChatMe stores it on the smart contract itself. And they talk about, how much it costs to store things on the blockchain, and they found a way to do it very light and accessible. So it seems like that storing on the blockchain, whatever that means, would be the equivalent or replacing the Ghosty approach to MongoDB. Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but MongoDB can still be encrypted. The key differentiation here between it being centralized or decentralized is that no one can take the blockchain down. So your message on the smart contract will always be there.
Right.
However, technically, that MongoDB platform or database has an admin, and while they cannot read the messages, they could technically duke it at some point. Is that correct, Joe?
100%. Yeah, right. So when somebody's paying that bill, right? So that bill stops getting paid or whatever it might be, or someone just says, I'm not going to do this anymore, and they can shut it down. It is a really interesting question because, so like right now at a small scale, ChatMe, that probably works pretty well to be on chain. But like as it starts to grow, like what is it like to really query the chain to get, chat information in real time? Like, I don't know what that really looks like. As of right now, you can kind of get away with it, but over time, that could be something where it really starts to complicate things, especially if you need to pull messages from a certain time back, right? If you have to go back in time, and now, like, where does that go? So even if you're running, let's say, a separate indexer, and you're storing some of this stuff on chain, it gets a little bit more complicated the bigger it gets. But makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, this is a. Oh, sorry.
Oh no, go for it, ABB. I'll jump in after.
This is the fascinating part of the stack, and I guess that I would assume that some of the solutions that we have now may, in fact, be temporary, just for the hackathon. And I do wonder, Joe, do you know if we will get anything like a MongoDB style database or like an SQL? And I'm not referring about Solana. Like an SQL database, but that can be stored on chain. Like, I know that there's a few storage solutions out there. RWeave has an approach. IPFS,
I was just going to bring up that.
I know that Machina is doing slow progress, but allegedly people are still working on it as well. Could Ghosty, in theory, look at some of these solutions to bring it fully decentralized? Or alternatively, could ChatMe also upgrade this more robust storage solution?
I think realistically, like that has to happen for it to really be a scalable product. I don't see how you can run a decentralized chat at large scale just basically on chain. With the way it is now, like writing transactions to the chain, that just seems like a recipe for bottlenecks and everything else down the road. Again, it might be fine now when you have a handful of people on it and conversation is happening once every few minutes. But if you really have like a chat room that was really bumping, it's not going to go. It's too slow right now.
Well, then, Joe, just in the spirit of connections, Decentland, which we just interviewed on our podcast, really broke down that they can connect to like RWeave, like you were talking about, which is just basically one big mega storage solution. So maybe Ghosty find some time to meet with Decentland and see if there's a solution for that, where like all that can be stored off. Joe, I don't know if that's how this all can work, but it seems like people are trying to make solutions. That could be one. So connecting people like that, I think, is important.
Yeah, the challenge is going to always be with any chat thing. And I think this is, I know we have one more to kind of touch on here, but with the inbox, but I think like chat is super interesting to me in general, because that is something that, if you're using it enough and you talk to enough different people across the globe, you have probably all these different conversation choices from, WeChat and Signal and Twitter and Discord and everything else. So to have maybe something that could be a little bit more universal that allows me to be able to do other things like transactions is awesome. Encryption is super important. That should come first. You can do all those things on chain. But the challenge is always going to be that how do I really start to actually scale it up? And so that's where that needs to be solved almost first before we can really say, here's a viable solution for this.
Yeah, I think that we've done a fantastic job at looking at some of the technical similarities and differences and potentially challenges, considering that Jared and I are not technical. Assuming that the engineering can be worked out, there's two really important things as well. The first one is a user experience, which say that Near is a builder's blockchain and that we can build really good user experiences. For a hackathon, I personally really like, the user experience and the flow, both ChatMe and Ghosty. Sure, super early iteration, yes, but I find it usable. And in the vein of talking about product and usability, I would like to pose to you guys and to the audience that will be watching this async, which feature would you prioritize next? End-to-end encryption or dark mode?
End-to-end encryption, but dark mode's cool.
Yeah, I mean,
did.
So I think, to me, actually, if I were someone who's going to invest in these projects, that's a great question to ask a group, because if their answer is not, and encryption, then it's like, well, I don't think you're really right for this product. Like that would be a red flag for me. Like you have to solve these particular pieces first before you can actually. UI can always come later.
Like, why would
For
you
sure,
make a chat in Web3 that wasn't end-to-end encryption? Like, there's so many non-encrypted chats.
because it's only 8 weeks, but I think it is on the roadmap, and I think it should be a priority. 2 things. It's super wild, but I know that people will be watching this video because 3 randos live streaming talking about the product is the closest they've been to date to talking to real users.
Yeah.
So if we can help provide feedback, and
Totally.
I pull up the Calimero network because I'm pretty engaged with the team, and if we can help, as you say, Jared, connect people, let's not take it for granted. You know, we've got a business development team at the foundation doing 10 million plus deals. Who is out there giving visibility to small projects, to small communities? And what I'm wondering, without going too far, maybe we can leave it as an open question. Maybe somebody who actually knows what we're talking about can come back to us. I'm wondering if one of these applications really were to be successful, they really should just deploy as a private shard in Calimero. I know that Spin Finance is doing that for some of their order book and their trading.
Yeah.
Shout out to Calimero. They just deployed a new website today, which looks really sick.
We're gonna interview them. I know you did too, but I'm excited because I think private shards is like, there's a lot there from like a business standpoint.
Sandy makes a lot of sense. I mean, he's sort of very smart and sort of an introvert, but when you start digging, it just makes a lot of sense. Yeah. Web3 is never going to take off unless you have privacy. Yeah. Like, it's just 90% of the stack of an everyday business has to remain private, both for the business interest and regulatory reasons. So yeah, I'm super bullish in Calimero. And yeah, okay, we have the third app. Are we on track?
Yeah, the Yenbox.
Yenbox, off we go.
So Chat GPT. So Yenbox is a messaging app that allows users to communicate with anyone on Near. Okay, this app features end-to-end encryption and charges a one-time fee of 0.5 Near to prevent spam. Totally worth it. Yenbox integrates with NFTs, okay, and has a plan to add features such as payment and asset price tracking, as well as ability to trade NFTs. Okay. Users can sign into Yenbox using their wallet, and it's designed to be secure, fast, convenient. Okay, interesting. So this one adds the layer of NFTs, but what do you guys think about that?
I think it's really cool that they've used for the background of the chat the same background that I've used for the thumbnails of some of my YouTube videos. It's good. Trading's a hot. I like it. Look, what I like about this one is that I think that the personal interests of the builder are coming through. And it's an example of something that we would have never done or think about, because maybe I'm not so much into the NFT space, but maybe they have a target audience in mind, or the problem as I envision it has like slightly different use case. I do like that they have encryption from the beginning. And yeah, I mean, the user experience, maybe it's a bit less polished or less complex than the previous two, but it looks like a solid product actually.
And maybe a way to gate NFT communities. If you have an NFT, you can only go into that chat if you hold an NFT, I guess. Like,
yeah, I think there's a lot of seeds, interesting stuff. And that's why I think it's okay to have 50 chat apps right now, because I think there's going to be some different perspectives on what should be included and what's going to work and all those different things. So I think this is a good thing.
Yeah, good point.
I mean, if you were to look at it, from like a like a VC perspective, or somebody who wants Near to succeed, and we're thinking strategically high level how to make it happen, we don't really care how many messaging apps there are or any vertical apps, and we don't really care which one succeeds. The question is, do we need it? Would it add value to the ecosystem? And I can actually see how the community having its own messaging channels can create like moats in some ways. Strengthening communities. I mean, think of something like an NFT community. It's very hard to engage them. All the projects that sold hundreds of thousands don't have any money because they had to pay $3,000 a pop for a mod to run some bloody games in Discord. So I think that it would really add to the sense of identity, to the sense of supporting the chain. I don't know if I'm only weirdo. Like, it's a sense of satisfaction when I find things to do on Near that push transactions through. Dude, I'm doing 30, 40, 50 transactions a day, and I'm like, fuck yeah, use cases every day. Let's get another shard. So I think that messaging is something that we do every day.
Yeah.
It could probably bring some benefits over other messaging apps, although, it's hard to compete with the state of Web 2 at the moment.
Yeah.
But yeah, long term, I think that it has that wholesome array of benefits for the ecosystem as a whole.
Agree. And this is one of those things, like maybe like they make their chat app that's NFT based, and instead of building out the trading NFTs, they just partner with, I don't know, a Kova or something. You know what I mean? Talk about connections. You just start connecting people, Joe.
There you go.
But you know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
I think like that I'm just, thinking like that's why like NFT trading, there's really good NFT trading already. Like,
I mean, there is an NFT builder group. You guessed it. We'll make sure to put all those working groups somewhere on the chat as a comment or whatever, so you can go check them out if you're interested. I know they're working on some gnarly stuff. I haven't participated directly, but I know that they're looking into like soul-bound tokens and reputation.
yeah.
So maybe if your community has a chat on chain, it'd be really cool if, while preserving the privacy of the conversation, like you don't want the text to be revealed, but you can actually track, hey, this person has showed up for 400 days nonstop, and like they're active, they contribute, whatever, even if they just say GM. There's levels of, it's really cool to be able to track things. At the moment, it's extremely hard because we don't really have any analytics or visibility into like Discord or any of that. Awesome. So the verdict on the messaging apps: bring them on. The more the merrier.
Yeah, let's keep trying stuff. Yeah, let's do it.
Totally. What I'm looking at now is B4B World. It was on page 2, but it's like if you check out that one looks like it was a winner for the Web 2 to Web 3 track prizes. This one's interesting. While you're pulling that up, so this one kind of comes into influencing and advertising, and this is a space that I sort of play in real life. So it's like interesting to me to see what is going to try to be done in Web 3, if at all. And so this is B4B World platform aims to streamline the process of launching advertising campaigns with influencers on the blockchain. Okay. Platform utilizes a dual token reputation system. I get that. Platform allows for a payment in native token, including Near and Aurora, in addition to stablecoins. And influencers can earn B4B coins as rewards for the activity. And the platform is currently testing phase on the Aurora testnet and plans to release on the Aurora mainnet. So it's interesting that they're choosing Aurora. So I thought that was kind of interesting too. And once you start getting into influencers and doing campaigns and being able to track them. So in Web 2, there's really not a way to track it very well. I mean, I've been in, we put up decks and stuff with numbers from a digital agency, but it's all pretty, you can make it do what you want. I hate to like be the bearer of that. But
yeah.
The Web 3, if you actually track, I'd be curious to see what their like approach is on this.
It's pretty cool. I'm not gonna lie. Shout out to Alex Shevchenko. I saw the Alpha Leaks last Friday, and he mentioned that about half the hackathon entries were on Aurora, and I was like, oh, well, that is fascinating. I want to go in and like review these projects, and that's when I thought like it'd be a waste. I mean, not a waste of my time, but it'd be a waste of potential if I spent hours looking at these projects and the rest of the world didn't find out. And then I thought maybe I'll live stream, maybe I'll get some awesome people to do it with me. So yeah, it's fascinating to see Aurora grow. Look, Shevchenko theory is super simple. EVM 1. Like Ethereum and all the EVM blockchains out there and all the Solidity developers and the existing communities, if you give these people an environment where they can build whatever they want, they can scale, they don't have to worry about price. I mean, the way Aurora is going with Aurora Plus, business accounts, etc., they don't have to worry about like transaction costs. That's when you really unleash a bunch of applications. I think he's correct, and I would never bet against Shevchenko. I also think that over time, Solidity is likely to decrease in importance because Rust and some of the capabilities of the Near mainnet are just more powerful. But yeah, it's great to see an Aurora team adding to the mix.
Agree.
Nice. Should we do like a little like rapid fire with some of these games? There's a bunch of games.
Yeah, I was just gonna say. I was looking at these
Just-
games like
yeah, we'll just
I
rapid
watched
fire.
Ninja Samurai Shadow Fight.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of these here, they're all kind of doing the same thing on the blockchain, right? Whether it's the IRL games that are like, versus of the Pokemon stuff, or whether it's Diesel Attack, Ninja Fight, all of these things. Anytime you're using the blockchain, it all seems to be based around the mechanism of adding on, whether it's like an attribute of some sort. I can, buy upgrade. I can buy stuff. I can trade stuff. It's interesting. Again, I think gaming is going to be something that really needs to be figured out. Tokens inside the game, sure. I think all that stuff kind of makes sense. And I just like to see kind of like where a lot of this stuff ends up. It's hard in 8 weeks to really build a real game, but at least there's multiple teams, not just in this contest, but everywhere, really trying to figure out like how do I actually leverage the blockchain for games. And obviously there's Play Ember, which is a big piece of that too.
Oh yeah, did you hear they just dropped a partnership with Skelly's? That's gonna be dope. Yeah, they're making a Skelly's game. But like, I think with games and AVB, I don't know. To me, it's just, is it a fun game? Like, it doesn't matter. I think like, I hope all the games eventually will add like, all this Web3 decentralized block, like the stuff Joe you just talked about. But really, is it fun?
Yeah, well, it has to be, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's just, if you don't at least have that first part of it being fun and interesting, then what are we doing? Like, it's not going to go anywhere anyways. I don't care if you're on the chain or not. I think the second part then becomes of like, can you actually do something though interesting on chain? Because that's always the argument going to be from people is like, well, why does this have to be on chain?
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
But I've never been a gamer, and I think I tried, and I'd like to think that the word is not too smart, but I always had issues with the game seems to be rigged. Like the computer obviously changes what it does in a way to fuck you over. And maybe I was just not very good at playing games. But there is something to the element of, if you create a game that is high stakes, highly engaging, if you really want to have loyalty from users, if you really want them to invest properly, like their time, which is the most valuable thing, maybe the game logic should be on chain or somehow verifiable. And I'm not sure if perhaps Near Crash would be a good example of this, whereby, dude, if you're going to run a fucking casino online, we know that the casino is rigged against you and the odds are rigged against you. And if it's online, it's a bloody honeypot. So could you put some elements on chain so that it is, fair, provable, it is inviting to new users? That would be sort of like the first use case. Like maybe the game is just like any other game, but the logic or some core component of the logic is on chain. Then you could have like the ownership aspect. You spent heaps of time, whatever, you completed the mission, you own something that is truly yours. It's on your wallet, maybe it's limited, whatever. I do feel like most people sort of skip those first two and just go for the third one, which is basically a Ponzi, like an Axie model. It's basically tokenomics with nice graphics and trying to avoid the SEC.
Totally.
And to be clear, this is not a judgment on Samurai that I have on the screen. I haven't seen any about this, to be honest, or any other game that's submitted to the MetaBuidl. That was just a reflection of what I perceived of the industry. Yeah,
and if any of these games are playable, I'll play them. And I'll try it out. And if it keeps me hooked, awesome. If it doesn't, cool, Joe. So if you guys want to hear something, so Joe, I've got one for you here that I think is like it's Russell. Did you guys see that one?
Sure. Yep.
This one is interesting because it's an automatic analyzer that checks for security issues on a near smart contract, right? So I don't know if you need to dive too into that, but Joe, is that like a big deal thing from a dev point of view, having something that you could run?
Yeah. So these type of things, they're typically called like static analyzers. This is something that is very typical in software development. It is not the same as going through a full audit. But it gives you the opportunity to actually go in and kind of run over your code in a way that says like, okay, these are the obvious things that are vulnerabilities, and these are things that are known. And so it kind of is able to statically, review what's in there and say, okay, you need to address A, B, and C. And it's not perfect, but it's going to get you at least a little bit more secure on your code. And then if you do go to an audit, hopefully you should have less things that you then need to go fix after that. Static analyzers can be a trap for people because sometimes you lean on them too heavy. This looks like, though, a pretty good one. It's coming from a reputable team, BlockSec, who is well known in the auditing space. So I'm really interested to see kind of what this actually looks like, and I haven't actually tried it myself yet. But this is the kind of stuff that is needed as for dev tooling, right? These are the things that are expected, right? This is, in my normal Web 2 job, we use multiple static analyzers, right? And so to have one now for smart contracts is great.
Cool.
I'm going to pose the same question. Joe, how many devs building on Near right now do you think know about Russell?
Less than 5.
Including the people that built it.
I mean,
less than 5. I was thinking you're going to say like a couple hundred.
No,
he's
there's no way. No, there's no way.
Than 5.
There's no way. Anyone who followed the competition, probably. That's it. There's no way.
And how many do you reckon could benefit? I mean, I don't know what stage of development this is at, but this is something that I'll definitely be forwarding to the Eng team, because I know that they're busy. I mean, the truth about the dev environment, and we're talking about it today in one of the working groups, because it's only business developers that join the bloody working groups for developers. They're in very high demand. They're overworked. Maybe they're paid all right. I don't know. I'm not going to comment on that. The point is, unless you give them a very specific task, they're not going to spend an hour of the time in a community working call or whatever. So I think that curation is super important. I mean, how many submissions were into that hackathon? And the team that organized the hackathon, their KPIs was, hackathon happened. There really isn't a team, as far as I know, whose job is, okay, do follow up now, marketing these teams. We just spent $1 million, give them some visibility. So I think that I didn't know we were going to find such good quality projects, to be perfectly honest. But I'm really happy. I'm starting to realize there is a much more dire need to give this visibility. And Jared, as the Chief Connections Officer, and I can be your incompetent subordinate, I'm really interested to legitimately brainstorm. Okay, this fucking Russell. Let's contact the team, understand what it's capable of doing, and maybe reach out to 5 projects we reckon could use it. Joe is a dev, he's one. I talked to the MetaBuidl guys. Just get things moving because, dude, it's shit when apps get hacked. That can really hold back an ecosystem. That can really destroy a team that has potential. So these kind of tools, I mean, they seem like they can really accelerate the pace of development by several notches. So let's put some more eyes on it.
And Joe, is this something that okay, they might have a business model. They could basically put it behind a subscription model for people to use with microtransactions. So it's you pay,
every time you run it, sure, right? You can
and it could be a microtransaction. So it's not even so I don't know. I think that's kind of what's interesting about this. And then ABB, you bring up a great point. Well, first up, Joe, that's totally possible to do, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So these things that are making software things that are really good could actually become microtransaction behind, where, if you're a dev creating a project and you have to spend 10 near a month using a suite of different projects, that's not that big of a deal in the grander scheme of things, so I think that's where it gets interesting.
Right.
When you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. I know that the developer governance work group is trying to shape to basically receive funding and then be able to allocate grants. This would be an example. Keepom would be an example where I'm like, why are we fucking ants? What micropayments? How much value do you think this can create for Near? If this can advance the pace of development, I create the next 10, 15 really successful apps, that's $3, $4, $5 billion in market cap. give them a fucking grant, empower them, give them visibility to the teams. Like, microtransactions
Absolutely.
are great, but this isn't going to succeed with microtransactions. This needs, the real support from the top.
I agree, but grants only go so far. So if the goal
Further
is
than
billion users,
microtransactions.
well, but microtransactions, suddenly you have 10,000 projects building all using microtransactions with this thing. You know what I mean? Like it could be a bit of a revenue source.
Yeah,
No,
yeah, you need to kickstart it, I guess, sure. Right? Like that's where the grants come in, but to have a business model is definitely important. Oh, what I think is really great though about this, before we move, wrap up here, is that again, it's so expensive to get your code audited, and so they allow people to get safer code out there. Again, it's not perfect; it doesn't replace an audit, but at least get people writing better code and safer code. From this is a net win for everybody, for users, for developers, all the way through. So I think it's super great to see stuff like this. And again, it's coming from a reputable source, which is huge.
You know what? One of the really valuable feedback I hadn't thought about from someone that joined the DeFi Builder group call today. All these new standards are great, meta transactions and stuff. That doesn't apply to us, because our smart contracts are live on mainnet. We're not going to pay another $500,000 to implement the fucking standard. Like, the app works, it is what it is. I mean, that's for the next one. But the problem is that the new developers talk to the older ones. And if the older ones don't know about the standard because they didn't implement it, like, we're kind of stuck. So yeah, I'm really excited to see not just more collaboration within developers, more communication that we're doing. Guys, we're doing such great work, if I may say so myself. But also tools like this one. Like, these could literally save tens of thousands a pop.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And I was gonna say ABB.
Do you have the next one, Jared, so I can start looking it up?
No, Joe, do you? Well, because there's a couple that are finance ones. I don't really talk too much about finance stuff because I don't really dive into I think it's good. I think DeFi is a huge deal, and as you can see from the FTX stuff, DeFi did all right. So I guess if another one that is interesting is Deer Marketplace. It's a decentralized marketplace on Near.
Deer, like the animal.
DEER. A marketplace that allows anyone to sell and buy anything securely, fairly, and transparently. So I like that.
Sure.
Huh?
That's for drugs, 100%.
Yeah, but that's an interesting thing. But while you're looking at that, here's something I think is super interesting that you brought up. So what happens after projects are made? And people use marketing as a catch-all. I don't even mean marketing per se. It's part marketing, but it's like getting it out there, getting it understood by the community. I mean, that's like a really important job. And it does seem like that is where, like, I don't think that's like every chain for the most part. It doesn't really do that as well. And it's kind of forgotten because it's like, I don't know. It's like money spent and not like, I don't know why people don't do it, but like, I think it's a really important point you brought up. And like, we're kind of doing it here, but there's not like a formal person who's like, all right, MetaBuild, here's the 20 projects that won. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to see for the next 3 months and get you connected to everybody.
The ongoing challenge, and this goes beyond marketing, this really affects the entire stack, is that if we think about the origins, the CryptoPunks, the cypherpunks, anything that veered towards centralization was a disgrace. And that has either permeated down to whoever is joining now in ways that don't fully understand it, because there's definitely a line between something being decentralized and something being leaderless and without any direction or purpose. Decentralized, the code is in the blockchain. No one can change it. It will execute. Leaderless, no one works on it, so it has no progress. The compromise is, sure, the protocol is decentralized, but we need somebody working on it.
Right.
Dude, I've seen this shit fight in every setting. Oh, this person is centralizing too much power. Why do they get paid for it? It should be the community. Like, somebody has to do this work. I love that Joe mentioned I use these tools in my Web 2 job. If we ever want Web 3 to be at the same level, we should have the same tools. Like, that's a very easy heuristic to have. Yeah. So yeah, I think that where the two roads meet is we've got people like you and I sort of coming from the community. We proactively share things. Do we get paid? Sometimes. There are avenues, there are verticals to empower people to create great content. Now we have the content creators working group. We're actively looking for people for the marketing DAO. Like, yeah, it's a weird hybrid, but yeah, I forgot where the rant started.
I agree with everything you just said. No, but like, yeah, we're trying. It's interesting. So let's pivot to this deer thing. So here's what's interesting, Joe, and or like the platform uses smart contracts to handle escrow and dispute resolution, which I always find is like the interesting stuff. That's like I kind of lose my understanding when it comes to that stuff, but hopefully they do that in an easy to understand way. The front end is using Next.js. Joe, is that good? I don't know.
It's fine. It's just a JavaScript framework. It doesn't matter. It's a front end framework.
Yeah. Cool. And it seems like they're going to start working on it more and more, right? To get an MVP.
You know what I find really interesting? All smart contracts are written in Rust, which I had to learn from scratch in 60 days.
Wow.
So head of connections, please track these people and introduce them to Russell.
Yeah,
this code
please.
is going to need a second pair of eyes.
Yeah.
No, but I'll tell you what I really find interesting, being a little bit more serious. I like that they're introducing or they're using the graph to index the data. Maybe it's because it's fresh in my head because I heard people talk about like all the indexing and data solutions. The graph integrated with Near, there was a bit of hype at the time because of multi-chain and very well known, very well established. I don't know of many teams that are using them. So it's good to see more people exploring it. See, I've got this theory that these big multi-chain projects that expand to Near, including tooling, they need to see traction for them to double down and continue providing the ecosystem with tools. You know, we've had experience with Bloody Chainlink and other providers that they go halfway and it's like, yeah, they're Near. They get their marketing blog post, but builders are still, you know, experiencing some friction. So yeah, it's great to see more people play around with it. The only thing that comes to mind really briefly, and I swear I'll pass over the mic, is I am intrigued whether they could have potentially used the Mint-based stack or how the two would compare, and if there could be like some pointers for people. When would you use the Mint-based stack? When would you use something like what these people did?
Yeah, right. That's the big question. I think with all this stuff of like, there are some things that are already out there. And Mint-based, like this Mint-based lets you do the store. It's kind of the same thing. The unique piece here seems to be the dispute resolution. Like that's actually really what's unique about this, not the marketplace part. So if they could somehow focus on that piece and then maybe integrate that into other things or allow that to be other places, that's a little bit more interesting than just the marketplace part of it.
So how does it work? Because the dispute resolution could basically be a standalone app. This is huge.
Right. Yeah, so I'm saying, I think this is much more interesting than just a pure marketplace play.
Yeah.
So it seems to be like a court, so to speak, using AstroDAO. Is it AstroDAO? By the interface, I'm assuming it is. Oh, this is very smart. So AstroDAO has a lot of it's very highly customizable. I think it's very smart that they customized it in such a way that instead of being a monolithic DAO with categories like council, marketing, engineers, they actually created specific categories for the store, the disputer, the seller, the buyer.
Oh.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So their Astro DAO will just be jamming because it'd be as more people who use it, the more.
Right.
Cool.
Jamming in this context is good or bad?
Good, like jamming, like going quick, like doing a lot of. There'll be a lot of them. Yeah, that's cool.
Oh, this is fascinating. Now, thanks for bringing that one up. I like it. Yeah, you are right. It's less about the store and more about building further up on the stack. And look, I'm going to be cynical here. I'm not speaking on behalf of the team. I have no fucking idea what I'm saying. There may have been a component about, you know, them patching together something from scratch to be able to enter the hackathon. Like if you just use the Mint-based stack and you deploy a store in 15 minutes, what else do you do in the remaining 8 weeks?
Right. Sure.
But the dispute resolution is definitely the big part of it. Awesome.
Definitely.
Do we have another one, Jared? See how many we can smash before Joe realizes he has a family he has to attend to.
Here's one. It's the winner of the Native Track Prize. It's the D Telecom. It's a web decentralized communications platform as a service infrastructure for audio video conferences powered by community.
I do spell that just like the telecom.
D Telecom. And it's a B2B SaaS offering real-time audio video communications, paying only for minutes spent. So, Joe, we'll get to this in a second because this actually. So Joe and I actually did a project 20 years ago, ahead of its time, which was like a video, like a film festival video platform. And we would charge by the minute. But what happened, one, there wasn't crypto, so that made it really hard. Joe, there's many reasons. Two, we were young and had no, it was just too big of a concept. And three, YouTube came out. So
yeah, this was pre-YouTube. Yeah, YouTube came out after.
It was pre-YouTube. And I can't get behind pay by minute, but that's just me. This could be a different, but near didn't exist then. There wasn't micropayments then. So now that it can be micropayments, I think the pay by the minute. Joe, we were just 20 years too early.
Yeah, seriously. No, I think so. I mean, a lot of this stuff and these type of things does feel like a throwback, right, up to like the early 90s, early 2000s, of like, it was just the late 90s, early 2000s of like, things by the minute, and you really hyper focused on, micro costs and stuff like that. I think it's still room to figure out, like, does that kind of stuff work? Again, I love that they're trying it. I love seeing, like, how does that maybe make more sense within, my larger budget as a company or whatever else, or what else we're building on top of them. But it's certainly clever. So, and it's worth checking out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to dive deeper on my own time because guess what? ChatGPT is not the be-all truth. What I keep coming back to is my trauma. I should get some therapy from being a lawyer and invoicing by the minute. I just think that when you think about the user experience, context is everything. And I know from the billions of calls that I jump on, which, let's be honest, half of them may potentially be a waste of time either for me or for them, and all the podcasts and just like everyday interactions, when you're getting billed by the minute, or any variable that you introduce like that makes you very aware and self-conscious, you definitely change your behavior. So I'm wondering, this is an amazing technical solution. And I'm sure that there's going to be more rounds of iterations to be able to leverage that technical stack, perhaps in slightly different context. Because as I was looking at the video, which wasn't that exciting because it was just a dude talking with no audio, I was wondering whether you could even do in the other way around. Oh, okay. So this is what's good. What's next for D Telecom? We have a large list of to-do. Marketing, we need our first customers. Hola. Community, we need our first miners. See, the mining part, it's what I'm missing here. I'm not sure what it is. Technical debt makes sense. It's a hackathon. VPN, VoIP calls. See, that's what I kind of... there's definitely a lot of potential here. No, but what I was going to say is, I'm wondering whether you could do it backwards. Like, say, if I ran a campaign, a marketing campaign or an ad, they charge me by the minute. Oh.
Whoa.
How did this get access to my camera? This is fucking creepy, bro.
Wait, what are you on right now? What?
Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Are you on the thing?
Yeah.
I opened the NMID website and my fucking screen popped up. I could have been jerking off. Like, what? This is not cool. I don't like these guys anymore. We're down. That's crazy. No, I think it's because I had already granted permission to this app. I hope. I don't know. I'm gonna have to go back and test, but that was pretty funny.
I have to go down because I'm just trying to figure out who's their target customer, right? Like what problem is this solving? And Joe, maybe you're more in this world. Do you see where it would be?
No, I'm not sure.
So,
Yeah,
because
but what I
I
was gonna
love
say
video
before-
plays. Like, this is like right down my alley. So I'm like very curious, and I'm sure and what I don't want to do is like be on this live stream and be like, what's this? You know, who are the customers? Because I haven't dove into it. This is like first response, so I don't want to like.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
like, they
But
might
what
be
if you
like,
do it the
oh,
other
these
way
guys are
around?
totally butchering our entire concept. Like, this is exactly what it
100%.
does. Yeah.
We're
so
gonna
that-
get sued as well. We
Well,
want to
it
get paid,
looks
we're gonna
like-
get sued instead.
If you look at I look at their deck really quick, it looks like they're trying to compete with like a Twilio type of thing. So they're providing the platform. So that's
Okay.
why it's per minute.
Where is the deck?
The bottom, the docs end.
Oh yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
But what does it say? Jared, but what if you do the other way around? Like, say I run a marketing campaign and I pay by the minute when somebody watches my YouTube. Like, if they come from the top of the funnel, they're not explicitly getting paid to watch, because once again, that would introduce all sorts of incentives that like those views are not genuine.
Yeah.
But people that do come through that flow, I'm not sure exactly who would get paid.
Oh, hold up. Okay. Telecommunications market. Okay. So now I'm wondering, is this like what a sales team will use, where it tracks your sales team and can track everything? Is this kind of a play? If it's a B2B SaaS, this is okay. Take a step back.
Okay, delete everything we just said for the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, okay, I see what you're talking about now. Okay.
Yeah, you'd build on top of this.
Yes.
So yeah, you'd build something, you know, or you just use their like default chat on top of this. But yeah.
I want to take credit when I can. I did say that billing someone by the minute made no sense to me at all, but that the tech stack itself is what's good. And I think that's what this seems to be backing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually think now, looking at this is a bigger project for sure.
They won, yeah?
Yeah.
Honorable mention, yeah.
Yeah, so I think that all the winning teams definitely need to keep working. 8 weeks is really not that much time.
The miner thing, I don't understand, because are they mining on Near, or is the miner something else? I don't know.
It's because they have their own
data?
nodes.
Oh, they have their own nodes?
Yeah. It looks like they're trying to have their own nodes to support the video chat and everything else.
These guys are on
Okay.
Near, right?
Yeah, looks like it. Yeah.
Okay, chief introduction guy.
Yeah, we need to. Okay, we
Here
need to
Wallet
follow up with this
was
company.
using Twilio. So Here Wallet was using Twilio for the functionality to send crypto to any mobile number via text message. They told me it was like, whatever, it could have been like up to 30 cents per text message, depending on the country and whatnot. But obviously, cost of acquisition of onboarding an entirely new user to the ecosystem and to the wallet, it was kind of worth it. So I'm really interested to see here the comparisons between what would a decentralized stack be like, obviously in its appropriate comparison, because they're making it look like it's very competitive, which is interesting because normally Web3 introduces some friction.
Right.
So this is pretty good.
Yeah. Well, I hope what this live stream does is give people an idea to go further, right? Like us talking about it, riffing, it's like, okay, we are not like the end all people, but it's like, oh, high level,
Dude.
like quick snapshot, go further if this is for your project.
Wait, this is insane. Does this exist? This case study? MetaPax, a blockchain-based streaming platform that allows you to remotely view the world through somebody else's eyes in real time, anywhere in the world in seconds. Dude, this is bonkers. This is super cool. This is like the simulation kind of thing. I'd pay for this, or ideally I'd like to pay someone to pay me to like see the world through my eyes.
Yeah.
This is super cool.
I like where this is like totally what an hour and a half into any live stream turns into. We just like start sending out on one project. We're like, hold up. Whoa.
Let's just turn this into OnlyFans. Joke, could this handle OnlyFans? That's where the money is.
Why not?
Honestly, it's where like
Hey.
a decentralized OnlyFans. Someone, come on, just make that. That's such a concept.
Well, there's this very wise saying that, those buildings, the fancy ones in Brickell in Miami, there's only two types of tenants. There's all the tech bros.
Yep.
And all the cam girls. And it's a circular economy. The tech bros are paying the cam girls and they don't talk to each other in real life. It's made more fun when I was in Miami, but anyway. Okay, that's pretty cool. I like this.
Yeah, that project I think I'm going to look into more after her.
For sure. Do you have any other honorable mentions? There was one that caught my attention around, I think it was like a carbon game with in real life bounties. Here we go. Did you ask our underlings ChatGPT to do a summary of this one?
No, I didn't, but watch how quick this is. Carbon games.
Okay, I'll stop playing the video and I'll let you run it through
By the time I'm
ChatGPT.
done with that, this is what this is like. Man, it's crazy. Oh, because this is actually like a pretty long written part. So let's see how it does.
I'm trying to figure out how to mute this. What?
I don't know. We
This is
can't
a
hear
weird
it.
player.
Yeah.
You can?
No, we cannot. No, we can't hear it.
Yeah, it's just me going crazy.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
All right, so it's already writing our 5 bullet points. So
Nice.
IRL Bounty Hunt is a platform that allows users to create in-person real-life bounty hunts in their cities or on campuses or at events. I think this is an awesome idea. The platform has a dashboard for event managers. Okay. The platform is built in the dashboard using Near and smart contracts written in Rust. Challenges faced during development were issues with Near transaction approval process and lack of responsive support. And the team is proud. Yeah, that's fine. So, okay. From a person who works in marketing, there's conferences, and even like think NearCon. That's even a better way to use. That's not making it personal, but think of NearCon could have had some cool bounties around there and stuff like that. You could even make bounties with. Let's just bring this full circle. Head of connections. You create bounties when people make connections, right? So if you can make you could set up certain connections between projects, and maybe if they connected and had a meeting, they could get a bounty.
This is amazing. So you could basically, but what is a bounty? Like, how does, like, say I had a presentation last week, introduction to Near here in Medellin. Could I have created a bounty for that location to, I guess, encourage people to make it, or that once people are there, I can give them the Near experience? And like, what exactly is a bounty? Because in my mind, I have like the digital collectibles thing, like Pokemon, but it seems to be more like you put out the bounty on the app, and they still do something in the physical world that you validate.
Yeah, that's what it seems like. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So it's more like the Pokemon.
Less like Pokemon.
Less like Pokemon.
Because I was thinking it would be
great booty call app.
It's what?
Like a booty call app. No, sorry, I'm still on the OnlyFans mindset. Well, stop now. 2 hours in. Sorry.
Yeah, this is interesting.
That's pretty cool. I like it.
Sweet. I know we're at an hour and a half, but maybe we just go through all 3,000 projects.
Yeah. I have a flight in like 10 hours, but why not?
Nice. But yeah, no, I think there was a lot of this. Are there any other last ones we wanted to kind of ping on? Or, we've gone through, there's a D3 music one, which is a next generation music platform. I always like the music thing. I always like I kind of feel like, how does someone get into that though, leaving Spotify?
Yeah, that's always going to be the challenge, right? Like anytime you want to bring up some kind of especially around music, okay, I'm going to allow musicians to share music. It becomes about discovery, right? And then from discovery, then it becomes about, well, Spotify is going to have a bigger reach, so how do you have to compete with that kind of stuff?
And don't get me wrong, it's an idea that I think is a great idea, and I want to succeed. Yeah. I want musicians that own the rights to their music, and people listen to it. I agree that it's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay, I like this one. I think this one's, they also won Native Track Prize and an honorable mention. So this, I think it's closer to the Pokemon app. Do you want to run the description through ChatGPT?
Wait, the D3 music one?
No.
No, Geobox.
Wait, where are you on?
Geobox.
Oh, okay, because I was on the music one.
Sorry, I skipped over.
No worries, I'm going to Geobox. Going to Geobox.
These look super interesting. Because I never played the Pokemon one at the time, but the concept was extremely addictive. Like, dude, I don't know your city, but where I live, I'd be on the tram and you could see the packs of people moving and running and congregating in weird spots in parks. I think that probably one of the most what's the word, well received or engaging games, mobile games out there.
Oh, definitely. Oh, absolutely. Yes, yeah. This might have to be my last thing. Just so you know.
Okay. Yeah, GPT is writing it. Man, guys, I mean, I know this isn't the chat GPT thing, but I'm literally just copying and pasting, saying write 5 bullet points, summarizing it, and it does it every time.
All right. You need a race.
It goes, is a platform that allows users to hunt for wild NFTs while they are on the go by using satellite map location data. It aims to increase the utility and gamification of NFTs for Web 2 users. You can hunt for NFTs while you travel. It was built on Expo for a mobile application using Node.js, MongoDB, and Near APIs, and Rust smart contracts. Platform faced challenges integrating into the mobile app to prevent users from cheating. Interesting. And then in the future, the team plans to onboard more non-Web3 users through Web3 ecosystem. All right, cool.
I love it, but I find that I love it because I've got a very specific use case in mind. When I was in Bogota, now that I'm in Medellin, and when I travel in general, and they do make the reference to traveling, I'm going to download the app and see if I can create this, because in my head, it'd be really cool to create some sort of like a guided tour of a city. And then you could even have users building reputation as people that can curate really good experiences. So you land in a city and you open the app, and then you literally collect the items, but they basically take you or point you in a direction. Be like, whatever, do a trek, and then you get the NFT, and there could be some gamification, like, oh, I'm the first one to do it, or the first one from a certain nationality, or you could really customize it in many different ways to make it exciting for users. But I like that the core functionality seems to be there, because more than an idea in my head and something that I thought I knew could be done on Near, I couldn't really do much. So I'm going to download the app and actually test it out. Cool. I may even start leaving some little treasures for crypto people visiting Medellin, and we'll see if it takes off.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but that's the kind of, when you talk, I like this kind of stuff of like the in real life piece of it. The geo hunt stuff is super popular now, where you find like the real life objects. So then now do
100%.
with NFTs.
I mean, depending on the stage of, how close to production they are, this is definitely an application that I can see having mass adoption and could be sort of like the application that Near is well known for. Maybe early days for it to be a play ember, but it has to start somewhere. We can keep asking the same question. How many people out there that could create really cool treasure hunts in their city know about the application right now? Probably not that many. But Chief of Connection and Subordinate and ChatGPT were on to the task.
Guys, 2023 is going to be awesome. We're going to figure something out. Ready Layer 1 is going to be in there.
Amazing.
Content's going to be there. AVB is going to be there. It's going to be,
everything is going to be out of control. Should we give it one stab at the financial one? That
I've got to go in a second, but I'm
gotta
hear
go
what
too.
you say about him. I'm just really not good at talking about financial stuff. Like, I just don't like
index funds. Look smart. I don't get it either. Awesome. Well, guys, it's been amazing. I think that we've gone for way longer than I thought initially, so I'm extremely grateful for your time. I know that perhaps the live streaming bit was more exciting on the Twitter and the marketing, and not many people joined for 2 hours, but I am confident. I'll keep an eye on the analytics that people will find value in this. I think we've made it even entertaining enough, and hopefully it's the first one of many. We certainly have plenty of material from this hackathon, and there are going to be more hackathons. So
yes,
thanks so much for joining me. I really enjoyed it, actually.
Me too, man.
That was great. Thanks.
Joe, bonus for dressing up like Santa Claus.
Joe, awesome.
Too easy.
I just have my Skelly's hoodie that I wear all the time now. All right.
Next one, we all dress up.